back, it's time to get groovy. Question, do you remember that movie?
Welcome back to Remember That Movie. I am the third Alejandro Rosa on IMDb.
And I am Steve Johnston, and I am not on IMDb.
And we're back with another episode and another movie. It is December 2025. We are at the end of the year. We have 2 films left to end the year with. Steve took us on this peculiar journey this time, so I will let him introduce this episode's film.
For our penultimate episode, I thought, all right, which movie would I really like to do? Which ones would be really good? And then I thought, if I can only introduce Alejandro to one movie off of this list, what would it be? And that was 1998's neo-noir sci-fi film Dark City, brought to us courtesy of director, co-writer, and co-producer Alex Proyas. Now, Alejandro, you had not seen this before, is that correct?
So, hilariously, I told this to Steve a couple of days ago. I almost started watching Sin City, which I was very excited to watch because I've never watched it.
Oh.
And then I went, let me listen to the message that he sent me to be sure it was Sin City before I start watching. And then he was like, and the movie's going to be Dark City. And I'm like, so close. So close.
So
then I was like,
so you were excited to watch a film and then very disappointed in what I'd actually picked.
Correct. I was like, thank you.
Brilliant.
I knew about this movie. I don't know about this movie. What I knew about Dark City, I think I'd seen the promos for it.
Okay.
I think I may have seen the poster, or I saw the tape at the video club, something like that. I saw it. I've seen it. I've seen the visuals. I remembered what one of the characters, the doctor, looked like.
Okay.
Because I was very surprised because it's a very famous actor. And I was like, what is going on there? I didn't know anything else. I had no concept going. I went in completely blind.
I was hoping that was the case. Now, my next question to you is, did you follow the instructions that I gave you? Because, dear listeners/viewers, I told Alejandro that he had to watch the opening of the movie in a very specific way. Namely, he had to mute the TV, press play, and not unmute anything until you got a close-up of the doctor's pocket watch. He pulls it out, and then we get a close-up on the face. And once you saw that, unmute, enjoy the rest of the movie. Did you do that, sir?
Yes, I did.
Excellent.
However, I have something to add to that, which is I followed instructions so well that I didn't actually go back and watch the first part of it with the audio on. So I have no idea what it was you were hiding.
So I promised you that I would explain why I told you to do that, because I offered no explanation at the time, just trust me. I wanted to replicate for you the experience that I had when I first watched this movie, which was in college. Shortly after it left the theaters, it got picked up by cable. I want to say it was the Sci-Fi Channel. One of my suite mates had heard something about it, or read something about it, and said, oh, we should watch this when it comes on. And so we did, except we were late getting back to the dorm room and turning on the TV. So we missed the first 2 minutes. The first things we saw was the tracking shot on the hotel zooming in and Rufus Sewell waking up in the bathtub. We missed the entire pan down Kiefer Sutherland clock time stops thing. So I wanted you to have that kind of experience because A, that's how I encountered it, and B, that's kind of how Alex Proyas, the director, wanted you to see it. Because what I had you mute was a voiceover done by Kiefer Sutherland's character that the studio made him add after some test screenings. In it, the good doctor says, they're known as the Strangers. They came, they abducted us, they conduct experiments on us, and I'm helping them. I'm a traitor to my kind. It explains the whole damn plot because the studio felt that American audiences just weren't going to enjoy not knowing what was going on. In my opinion, that kind of ruins part of the film experience. And years later, there was a director's cut released of it which removes that voiceover. So you still get the pan down and the doctor turning around and everything stopping, but no explanation as to what's going on. And I think that is the correct way to have watched the film.
That leads to a question. Before we dive into this plot, what does the VHS say? Because I'm curious how they decided to sell this movie on the VHS.
I'm afraid I do not have the VHS. This was 1998. This was the year of the DVDs.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are not watching and are just listening, Steve is actually holding up the Dark City DVD.
Yes.
Clearly from his collection.
Because back when I was in my 20s, I loved this movie. So let me regale you with what the back of the DVD box says. When John Murdoch awakens in a strange hotel room, he finds that he is wanted for a series of brutal murders. The problem is, he can't remember a thing. Pursued by the police and haunted by the strangers, mysterious beings who possess the ability to stop time and alter reality, he seeks to unravel the twisted riddle to his identity. But in a city where reality is the ultimate illusion, discovering the truth could be fatal. The other thing I do kind of love is that this being from 1998, kind of the early days of home DVDs.
Yeah.
One of the selling points is it's got interactive menus.
Oh my. You can click on it.
Yes.
Ooh.
And there's a game you can play using your remote control.
Oh no. Those were all terrible. Well, not a bad description.
It generalizes a lot of things, but I think you have to because this plot gets complex.
It does, and also I think this is the film noir style of this film, or stylization, I don't know, of this film is that you don't know what the hell's going on, right? It's a mystery. And I think it works for the film in that way. As somebody who had no understanding of what I was watching, I truly, like every step of the way, as the character is trying to figure it out, so am I. I did not know who the people were. I did not know what was going on. I'm trying to piece together the puzzle as I watched. And I think that's probably the best way to watch this film.
I absolutely agree with you.
Except for people who listen to two people break this film down in a podcast episode and then go and watch it.
I meant to start off saying, spoiler alert, and if you have any interest in the movie, go watch it and then come back to us. Kind of regretting that I didn't do that.
You know what? Public service announcement. You can stop this right now and go go watch it. I mean, you could listen to it, but I prefer you watch it.
Yes.
And then come back and hear our brilliant, non-award winning analysis. We continue.
This comes to us from Alex Proyas, an Australian filmmaker. He had done one major film prior to this, which was The Crow. Based on the success of The Crow, studios then kind of entreated him and say, oh, is there anything else you've been working on? Anything else you would like to make? And he had been toying with this story since the early 90s and said, yes, here is Dark City, which is what I would like to do next. He wrote the original script and then brought on Lem Dobbs and David Goyer to kind of polish and finalize it. And then that is what they ended up shooting. This being your first time watching it and casting my mind back to the first time I saw it, yeah, you really have no idea what is going on when this film starts. You did say, I think you said that it worked for you. Is that correct?
Yeah, as far as a film of discovery, yeah. I didn't know what was going on. I was intrigued. I was confused.
But hopefully the confusion cleared itself up as time progressed.
You know, it's one of those where more doors start to open to show you what's behind the curtain. That's a messed up metaphor. But anyway, yes.
Sorry, I missed it.
Well, you open the door and then you see what's behind the curtain.
Yes.
What? That might get deleted. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I liked it in that way. I didn't know what was going on. It was a little weird. It was a little creepy. But the man who brought me The City of Lost Children, I should expect nothing less.
See, I spent a good portion of this film wondering what you were thinking, as I have done with some other things that I've introduced you to. And, crossing my fingers at the back of my mind that, I hope he's enjoying this to some extent. Because I would hate to have introduced you to this and just have you absolutely hate it.
Well, just to put you at ease, I didn't hate it. I was confused somewhat.
Yes.
But so were the characters.
I found, thinking about it a little later, that much like the characters and perhaps the audience's confusion clears up as the movie progresses, the way it's shot and the way it's edited together also clears up as the movie progresses, because we start off following 5 different characters in essentially 5 different avenues. And it's not until they start interacting with one another that we actually kind of get a picture of what's going on. And I very much liked that. I mentioned that there are kind of 5 main characters, if you will, or 5 viewpoints that we're following. The main character being that of John Murdoch, played by British actor Rufus Sewell. He was picked because at the time he was widely unknown. Not many people had seen him already. They might recognize him from a couple of his earlier works, but didn't really know who he was. And Proyas kind of wanted that unknown quality for the guy who has amnesia and doesn't have any idea what is going on. So he's discovering himself in kind of the same way that the audience is discovering him as well, to a degree. We have his wife, Emma, played by the delightful Jennifer Connelly. I actually had to stop and figure out where I had seen Jennifer Connelly first, because it was not this film. And I figured it was actually The Rocketeer that introduced me to her. Not Labyrinth, as you might have expected.
I did expect that.
Jennifer Connelly plays Emma, John's wife, who has, according to the plot, had an affair and has kind of become estranged from him and feels bad about what has happened and wants to reconcile. We have Inspector Bumstead, played by William Hurt.
He was probably the biggest surprise in this film.
Really?
Yeah, because it was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Is that William Hurt? William Hurt, what are you doing here?
We have Dr. Schreiber, played by Kiefer Sutherland. A very not Kiefer Sutherland kind of role. Okay.
It reminds me of when Brad Pitt was in 12 Monkeys.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right, because they're kind of playing almost against their type.
Yes.
Right, so you have Kiefer, who's like Mr. Lost Boys, Flatliners, you name it.
Bad boy, tough, yeah.
Bad boy, tough, heartthrob, right?
Yes.
They give him a terrible haircut. One of his eyes is sort of droopy. He has a limp.
Yep.
He's very much the mad scientist.
Yes.
You know, and you're just like, what's going on? and you kind of wonder if this is one of those times where you have, you know, a young heartthrob who's like, no, I'm absolutely going to go against the grain here.
I have range, damn it.
Look at my range. Look at it. I'm limping.
His voice is one of the things that stuck with me since the first viewing. His vocal patterns, that voice was picked specifically by Kiefer Sutherland, I believe, just to sort of highlight how much trauma and brain damage the character has gone through. And so he is left speaking in very short, choppy sentences and very breathy.
I actually think it works really well.
Yes.
I think he was, for me, one of the standouts in the film. And it's a weird role. It's a weird character. But damn, he is giving it. Like, he's bringing it. Rufus Sewell, always just a fascinating actor to see on screen.
Rufus Sewell, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly because we've just pronounced it 2 different ways.
You mean Rufus Sewell?
3 different ways now. This was the first thing I had seen him in, and following this, I started noticing him in some other things. I think he played the villain in one of the Zorro movies, and everything I have seen him in, I love him. He's so intriguing and just, he draws you in.
There's something about him that is so, like, what's going on with you, man? You're just kind of different.
And then we have Richard O'Brien, who has been briefly on the podcast before when we spoke about Flash Gordon. You'll remember he was the creator of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and he plays Mr. Hand, one of the strangers.
I would like you to know that what I wrote down was bald, pale people, !
Yes.
Which is factually accurate, folks.
Yes,
That's exactly what they are.
I cannot dispute that.
They wear long trench coats, they wear hats, and they're bald.
Yes.
And they're pale, and they're creepy, and one of them is a kid.
played by twins, a brother and a sister. They alternated days filming. Apparently, the girl was super excited every time it was her turn to put on the costume and do some acting. And they were both fans of the Rocky Horror Picture Show and were delighted that they got to work with Richard O'Brien.
It almost makes me forget about the trauma of seeing these creepy children.
Especially towards one of the latter scenes when they just look up and go, "Kill him!"
Kill him. What are you talking about? There's a scene where they bite his hand.
Oh, that's right, yes.
And I was like, oh, Jesus. Well, before that, same scene, he looks over, because usually what's been happening in the movie is that every time he turns around, there's one of these pale, bald, people who are like, and he's running away from them. But this one time he turns around and it's just Mr. Sleep, this little kid, and he's like, and he's got a knife and he's dragging it across the wall. And I was like, holy Jesus, that's creepy. And so he's running away from the little child with the knife. And then when he's hanging off of a ledge, you assume that he's going to stab him with the knife.
He's going to use the knife, surely.
Yeah. But no, Mr. Sleep uses his teethers, and he bends down and he starts biting on the fingers. And I was like, Jesus, I really wanted him to just grab that little kid and just fling him over the edge of that
out
building.
The window, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, just grab him. Just grab him. He's a little sack of potatoes. Let's see if the little bastard can fly. Spoiler alert, he can.
He can.
They all can. But yes, I loved Mr. Sleep because he creeped me the hell out.
Another actor I will mention, this may not mean much to you, but Mr. Book, the leader of the Strangers, is played by British actor Ian Richardson. Kind of a prolific actor in both theatre, TV, and some films over in the UK. I knew him primarily from the British version of House of Cards, which came out in the 90s, I believe.
Probably called House of Teacups, and you can get it on BritBox.
It's you can probably get it on BritBox.
Well,
it's still House of Cards.
Oh, fine. Just ruin my fun, why don't you?
No, that was the name of
House
the book.
Of Biscuits.
Sorry, it's House of Biscuits.
It is something so funny when you have these films where you have these outlandish, weird characters that end up being played by these actors who are like award-winning, giant careers in theater and film, but you've never heard of them because most of the time, not American. And so you're like, who? Oh, yeah, the creepy guy. And you're like, that creepy guy has an Olivier Award, whatever.
Yes.
He's got 12 BAFTAs. The ones that it's like a cameo. And you're like, this person won 16 Tonys. And they had one line in this movie.
She played the maid.
Watch The Bride, if you're interested in that part of the conversation. Okay, I'm gonna challenge you.
All right.
I had a philosophy professor who I really loved, Dr. Atherton. He didn't test like other professors did. And I remember a question in one of his tests. He usually just had like 3 questions. Mm-hmm. And one of them was like, I can't remember the whole question, so just forgive me. But it was like, you're walking down the street and an unmarked van pulls up and grabs you. And you find yourself in a warehouse with masked people. And they hold a gun to your head. And they say, defend so-and-so's philosophy. Go. That was an actual question.
Okay.
And that was it. Defend it in your own words. Explain it to them. Sell them on it. If held at gunpoint and told, explain the plot of this movie.
The problem that I'm just wrestling with is how spoiler heavy do we go with whatever I'm about to say? Because, as I mentioned, part of the joy of this movie is the journey.
But we already did a public service announcement at the beginning, telling them to stop, and I know that they listened. So what we do next, they're already braced for.
So, as briefly as I can.
At gunpoint.
At gunpoint.
And I'm impatient and real trigger happy.
Aliens have abducted a city's worth of people and are conducting experiments on them. They have created the city in which everyone lives. All of their memories have been extracted, and they have basically been reassigned. Our good doctor has figured out how to mix different memories to create personalities, and they've given people new personalities, and they are just seeing what makes us tick, how we interact, etc. There is a problem, though, because there is one person for whom the most recent experiment failed. The injection he was supposed to get, the personality that was supposed to be imprinted on him, did not take. And so now he has no memory of what's going on, no clue who he is or what he should be doing, and he stumbles out into the world, and he discovers not only does he not know who he is, he's also picked up some strange powers at some point that can distort and change reality.
Why I ask that for this particular film is because, again, like, how do you summarize this film? Because there is, like, and what I was going to tell you was, like, you didn't even bring up the fact that at midnight everybody falls asleep at the same time, and they move around and they change people's memories and people's lives, and they're just playing. And also, yeah, they built a city, but that appears to be in space. Even in your brief description, they're still like big giant things.
Right, because there are so many details that you have to gloss over if you're doing the 5-minute summary.
When I think about City of Lost Children and this movie, they're cousins. The reason that I say that is because of the design. There's very intentional design work that has a real look to it.
Absolutely.
There's no daylight, something that is brought up in the film. Nobody can remember. And at some point, our main character is like, starts questioning people. It's like, do you remember the last time the sun was out? And everyone's like, well, what do you mean?
What do you mean? It's night now, so it must have been day, right?
Yeah. It's like, well, but when did that happen? Because I haven't slept for however long and I haven't seen the sun.
Right.
And of course, later we find out that, the creepy bald people, they don't do well with light. So that's why there's no sun.
It's perpetual darkness.
Perpetual darkness. City of Lost Children was mostly in the dark.
Yeah, The thing about City of Lost Children is that you never really saw the sky. It was always the cityscape, but you're correct. The way everything was lit, it seemed to be evening or night most of the time.
See? We got themes, people. That's how deep we are. We got themes. There's a great scene. William Hurt's character, Detective
Bumstead.
When Detective Bumstead is trying to track down John Murdoch, and eventually he gets to a point where he sees John Murdoch and he's with his wife, and he's like, just turn yourself in or whatever. He's like, I didn't do this. And John's wife essentially blocks the detective. He pushes her to the side and then just looks at her, and he is so damn annoyed. So annoyed. And he says the line, no one ever listens to me. And I don't know why, but I thought that was the best line in the entire movie. Because it was so earnest, like freaking could somebody please just listen to me?
That was my second favorite line out of the film. The first, my favorite, which has stuck with me since the first viewing 20 odd years ago now, was when Mr. Hand gets injected with John Murdoch's memories as they're trying to track him down. So they figure, all right, if I become him, I'll know where to go.
Yeah.
The injection happens, and Mr. Book says, has it worked? And he says, oh yes, I have John Murdoch in mind. I love that.
That entire portion of the plot is the creepiest thing in this damn movie. It is so creepy because he's got he's just got everything, right? It's just, I don't know why there was something just so, I just wanted the man to die. Somebody kill this man right now. At some point, he goes up to John's wife when she's sitting on the bench that they met or whatever.
Yep.
And he starts talking to her. He's like, I met my wife on a bench like this. And she goes, oh, really? He goes, yes. And then he tells him all creepy things. And she's like, that's really creepy and weird and coincidental. And he goes, yes. And then he walks away. The creepy man in the trench coat just
tips
walks
his hat
away.
and leaves.
And I'm just like, call the police. This is awful. Oh, look, what we were just talking about. I have a note. Mr. Hand gets creepier.
Now, for 50 extra points, can you tell me which scene it was you wrote that about?
Any scene after he got the memories.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Just like when we were talking about Mr. Sleep, I wrote, creepy kid with knife. He bites. This is what I do, folks. I write little tiny notes just to make myself laugh. Yeah, Mr. Book, Mr. Hand, Mr. Wall.
Mr. Wall, played by Australian actor Bruce Spence. You've seen the Mad Max movies, right?
Yes.
In Road Warrior, he was the gyro captain, and in Beyond Thunderdome, he was the pilot who had the plane. He has a very recognizable face.
When we were talking about the lack of day, there was a great line that I wrote down When was the last time you remembered doing something during the day? There are little moments in this. There was another line, we fashion this city on stolen memories. The more you learn about what this is, the creepier the whole thing gets. Mm-hmm. And also, we need to talk about, it's not just that there's a couple of creepy, pale, bald people. There's like a whole society of them.
That's hundreds of them.
You can almost say a hive of them. And they have a little area where they all stand. And then they do things, weird things with their mouths. And it's like, what the hell is this?
Creepy as all get out.
And you find out that they're doing this because they're trying to learn how humans tick. Because they're dying.
Yep.
Not fast enough, in my personal opinion. And then it gets very surreal science fiction, even more so as you learn that when John is trying to find the beach, right?
Yep.
Shell Beach. We get to the end, and the end is a wall, and there's no beach. And then they break through. They break the wall down because they want to see what's on the other side, and it's space. And you're just like, okay, I did not see that coming.
Nice.
That was not.
Yeah. No, that was
like,
a surprise.
Are we in a spaceship? Right? And this is like a big reveal. Like, ta-da! We're not even on Earth. We're somewhere else. Also, yeah, that's right. They do say that our creepy bald people, they are inhabiting dead people's bodies.
Yes.
And at some point when you see one of them die, a weird, creepy thing comes out of its mouth.
That creepy thing is the actual alien. They're just using the bodies as hosts, essentially.
Nothing is real. Nothing is real. And that's something that you try to wrap your head around. Mm-hmm. Because every time they do these scenes, you see them changing people's personalities.
Yeah.
But also the city itself. They keep... It's almost like it's their own personal Lego set. And every night they change.
Good way of putting it. Yeah.
They rework everything. So maybe one time you were like a blue collar or whatever, and the next thing they turn you into a rich person.
I loved that scene. We take a very, as you say, blue collar couple that is sitting at a little folding table in the kitchen eating soup. And then in that night's tuning, where everything gets adjusted, they are changed into a couple of very well-to-do rich people. And we actually see the table expand with them sitting at it and turn into this very beautiful ornate thing with candles and a full banquet laid out in front of them. And it goes
the house increases in size.
Size, yep.
Yeah. So by the time the creepy people walk out, it's a palatial
estate in the middle of the city.
Did people like this? Did critics like this? Because the one thing that I was trying to wrap my head around was, who is the audience for this film? I think a lot of people would find it artistically fascinating. I think some sci-fi fans would find it amazing. But I could also see a general public being, what? So I have to ask, what was the reception for this film?
The reception is going to split into two differing parts. We'll talk about the critical reception first. Critics, by and large, liked it a lot.
Really?
Yes. Our old friend Roger Ebert said that it was a great visionary achievement, and not a story so much as an experience. It is a triumph of art direction, set design, cinematography, special effects, and imagination, and called it his best film of 1998.
I would have to look to see what else was out on 1998.
It was fourth in the box office. Number one was Titanic.
Never heard of it. Did that film do well?
I think so. I think he did okay with that one.
I think we have a joke about that in the Waterworld episode.
I think we do.
Because the difference between the two.
Ebert loved this film so much, he actually taught a class where they took the film and froze every scene just to analyze each shot of the movie. Naturally, there were some that were not. Mark Savlov, for example, writing for the Austin Chronicle, wrote, "Dark City looks like $1 million, or rather $1 million gone to compost."
Oof.
At its dark heart, it's a tedious, bewildering affair, lovely to look at, but with all the substance of a dissipating dream. Alex Proyas, observing some test screenings, noticed something and realized that this movie was never going to be a widespread success. It was not going to be loved by everyone, because he received very contrasting feedback from audiences. There were those who loved it. There were those who just checked out and did not get it and were not interested. How it did overall, I am sorry to say, not well. It had a budget of $27 million and in the box office made $27.2 million.
So it did not make a profit.
It did not make a profit.
Everybody walked away with the same amount of money they put into it.
But, as with several films that I have picked over the course of this show, cult following. This is loved by a certain group of people, sci-fi fans especially, latched onto it and love it.
I can imagine there are people out there who have Dark City t-shirts.
Oh, yes, absolutely. This image of John Murdoch on the clock, who wouldn't want that on a t-shirt? Now, I count myself among those people who really, really like it. I loved it when it first came out, and as I was watching it, I was concerned because the first decent part of the movie is at times difficult to watch just because you keep jumping from one thing to another and you do not know what is going on. And so it can be very confusing. But then as the film progresses, things get clearer and my enjoyment grew. And looking back, I realized, no, the confusion at the beginning is intentional. You are supposed to not know what's going on. You are supposed to kind of try and piece things together, just like John Murdoch is doing.
Again, that's the film noir of it. I think it's a film noir film that gets really science fiction-y, and you don't expect it to be a science fiction-y until a couple of things happen, like creepy guy in trench coat flies. And you're like, okay, that's different. At the beginning, you're thinking it's a detective film, right? Mm-hmm. Are you the killer? Are you not the killer? You wake up and you have no memories. It just evolves into more sci-fi the more you watch.
What was your take? Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? What's Alejandro's takeaway?
You know, I actually think I liked it. I don't know if I loved it. I'm not going to get the t-shirt or anything, but I didn't dislike it. I saw the merits in it. I liked the acting in it very much. And I love the design. I think it's very much its own thing. I guess, and this is going to sound weird, but I kind of respect it. You did a thing that was very challenging that you knew not everybody was going to like.
Right.
And I was kind of cool with that. Again, it's not like my favorite film in the world, but I did enjoy, the journey was fun. It was very interesting.
In watching this again, I realized that this movie has a lot of pieces, stylistic choices, sort of bits and pieces from a lot of different movies that I liked that we have covered in the podcast. You've got the noir aspect, the science fiction kind of aspect to it. You've got some amazing set design. I loved the design of the city. One of the things that just, it creeped me out on a subconscious level is that early on, every scene, there doesn't appear to be an exit or an entrance to a lot of the areas that people are moving through. So you just watch going, how did he get in? How is he going to get out? The whole thing is kind of unnerving.
That's a great description. So much of the time, the whole thing is unnerving. They even made the pool creepy.
Yes.
There's the scene where the doctor is just in a pool, an indoor pool, and it was just creepy as hell. It's like, you can't even make the pool joyful? It's like, no.
It kind of pulls from a whole different, so all sorts of different things that I love about movies and kind of wraps it up into one bundle. And I still love it. I still think it's great. I want to try and see the director's cut now, which I know is available for streaming, I believe. Apart from the elimination of the opening voiceover, which explains the whole plot and therefore I think ruins the experience, it also adds in something like 11 extra minutes of footage, not new scenes. It just extends certain scenes that are already there, giving some more sort of establishing shots, a bit more character interaction, etc. But I would be curious to see that. I also believe that the director's cut has updated some of the CGI. Alex Proyas was not happy with the effect of the tuning, this little distorted cone that shoots out of people's forehead, but it was the best they could do with the money and the technology they had at the time. So if I've understood correctly, he did a semi-Lucas where he went back and upgraded some things so that it looks a little more like what he envisioned.
I'm open to that.
Do you know who else was a fan of this movie? To one degree or another, I actually don't know how much. The Wachowskis. This had an influence on their movie, which came out the following year. So much so that they actually used some of the same sets in the studio in Australia. In particular, I believe the rooftops. If you remember when John Murdoch is jumping from rooftop to get away from the strangers. I cannot confirm this because I haven't watched, obviously, but I do believe that those are the same rooftops that Trinity is jumping across at the beginning of the movie.
I mean, even the whole movie has that vibe. It's like you're in a Matrix.
Yes, it's not really reality, and yes, there is one person who has managed to break free and is now fighting against the thing. So, sir, unless there is anything else, any other creepy notes you wish to share?
No, I think I told you all my creepy stuff.
In that case, for the last film, I turn it back to you.
I debated this a lot.
I know.
I went back and forth. I asked for different people's suggestions. I want to thank everybody who gave me suggestions. There were many of you. And I apologize for not taking any of them. I did have a plan. I did have a plan for a film I was going to do as our last film.
All right.
When we did Flash Gordon, I think we're going to start with this movie and we're going to end with this one.
Right.
But hey, it's been a year. Things have changed. We've always talked about movies that were a part of our childhood. We did a lot of those this year. I was trying to think, is there anything I haven't covered? And then this movie popped into my head and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. And so I looked at a couple others and I started doing a little research on them and I came back to this one and I did a little research on this one. Then I was like, yeah, we're going to do this one. We are going to go back to 1981. And in your honor, I have found a British filmmaker. For our last film of 2025, we're going to visit Sir John Boorman's epic fantasy film, Excalibur. Ooh. Thank you, folks, so much for watching or listening. We are always grateful for your comments, your likes, or just the fact that you actually do listen and watch sometimes. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and join us for our final film of the year, Excalibur.
Sit back, it's time to get groovy. Question, do you remember that movie?